was always attracted to and still am to quartz crystals. I believe they're living entities and that humanity has yet to grasp their power. Would you like to expand on this topic a little sister? Quartz crystals can be used for media storage, though humans cannot grasp how to get the information into them or extract it, but do use them as a simple CD media and putting info inside by laser pulses. But to truly understand the crystalline lattice and the matrix, they do not have a clue.
Sectors of the crystal can be charged with a frequency of vibration, so it can hold countless information stored as vibrations. This part is especially useful for storing frequency maps, not as data that represents a frequency, but as the frequency itself. If you both want to talk about their usage on ships, then we are back into super materials, not living quartz creatures, but okay. Dale, you basically change the crystalline structure of quartz by means of a frequency, imposing on it a magnetic field. I mean, the structure of a quartz is near perfect, but it is not perfect. So you can store information in the matrix that makes them up. What does it mean? It means that you can impose ones and zeros, binary, for example, or holographic, more complex data into the electric charges that hold or bond the molecules of the crystal. And as it is transparent, you can access any point in the crystal to access the data at will.
Can you describe how that would be accomplished, little sister? Pounding the crystal with laser pulses like a CD media is not the answer.
Yes, as above. What you do is change the bonds between each honeycomb. Quartz is very electricity sensitive.
Yes, piezoelectric.
Yes, piezoelectric, exactly. I don't have any human equivalent in order to explain how. Basically, they are inside frequency modulated high energy magnets, modulated by the computer.
So, a high enough modulated magnetic field could be used to impress media in the crystal, much like recording tape media.
Their bond and the structure that makes them up is so mathematically perfect and so complex that it is said that is why they hold their own awareness. They are said to be 1D creatures. 1D meaning that they just are, and they are not aware of others, as that would be a 2D characteristic. But quartz crystals are known for moving around and going to wherever they need to be. They have no legs, but they manipulate the environment and the people around in order to move them, but at their will. I don't subscribe to saying one creature is from what density, as I am quite sure all creatures are in all densities. I notice a lot of energy around my stones and crystals here, almost as if it were a telepathic chatter.
Can they modulate or change the base frequency to move around or influence another to move them?
Yes, part of what I was saying. Of course, humans would think that they are just objects that get lost as any others. But there are too many interesting stories about crystals who do get lost and mysteriously find their way back home even after years.
Please, little sister, let's expand on how we could properly program a crystal or get the information into and out of the crystal.
But you need to write it as well. And for that, you alter their structure with a magnetic field, focusing on those specific areas where you are going to write. Like using the crystal as a natural hard disk. You have seen how I described the tractor beam, and how using harmonics of a frequency you can alter matter, or even create it. Same here, but in a smaller level. Using harmonics of a frequency applied to a very specific area inside the crystal, you can reorganize its molecular structure. So you are writing information on its molecular matrix. By changing the values of the bonding spots within the molecules at that nano level, so you can store huge amounts of data on a very small crystal. For example, using the image above, you can switch the white balls for some red ones in some areas, and that would mean something for the computer. The computer has a structural map of the crystal, map that changes when it overrides on it or alters the matrix. The map is generated as when you use the tractor beam to scan an object to its molecular structure to find its harmonics of a frequency that is bringing or causing standing waves to form nodes, where you will see what you call a particle.
Okay, so you're not actually changing the matrix, but encoding on the atomic bonds, or by causing the atoms to flip on their axis, thereby creating a 1 or a 0 like in binary.
Yes, but for me, I would say that is changing the matrix.
Understood.
Flip the atom. You need to flip many in order for the system to be readable. And many atoms clumped together are usually called molecules. So this is occurring at a molecular level and not at an atomic level.
It all sounds so simple, but it's not so easily attained with our tech. Is this possible with current human knowledge?
You need extremely precise nano beams of high energy magnetism. Then you must control them with a precise computer.
Quartz crystals are a molecular system of silicon dioxide, SiO2 chemically, right? But what about the perfect lattice of, say, a diamond, all pure carbon?
We would need to go into creation of nano devices, such as these, and other very interesting ones, such as nanoparticle accelerators used in holographic computers.
Nothing here yet can do that to my knowledge. Yes, the nanoparticle generator in your holographic AI computer system.
It is basically a design on a computer in large scale, then processed into the according harmonics of a frequency for its final size, and then place them in a replicator. You create matter from energy using specific controlled harmonics of a frequency inside the replicator. Same for the nanoparticles of polymorphic metals.
Oh, way beyond human capacity or capability.
Humans have scales to determine how advanced a civilization is, based on the energy they can harness and use. we use another scale, interstellar or not. Capacity to get energy out of matter, nuclear power, and the most difficult one, create matter from potential energy. Next day, clarifications. According to my calculations, Dale, I am fresh back from engineering. The nominal output of each counter-rotating turbine on this ship is 7 trillion Tesla M2, 28 trillion Tesla meter 2 combined, each second. Reactor output at maximum efficiency 92 trillion Tesla 369 trillion Tesla combined per second times 4. Just made the conversion. May sound too much for you, but those are my numbers here, fresh out directly from ship's engineering. What I found as a Tesla meter squared is equivalent to 1 electron volt. Not what I think. I researched, but I am aware that there are Tesla second squared, Tesla minute squared, used as an energy measurement. And you are mentioning magnetic measurement. So we are not on the same page here.
Yes, I understand, little sister. Thank you for clarifying. I was speaking about magnetic gap energy measured in Tesla or Gauss, such as 1 Tesla equaling 1,000 Gauss.
Electron volt second, EV2, versus T.M2. Gauss too small a measure for Starship engines. Thank you. Looking.
The gap between the top plate and the side of the magnetic structure is only about 65 thousandths of an inch wide, but produces 1.1 Tesla. Yes, Gauss is way too small the energy.
Is your 1.1 Tesla equivalent to what? In electron volt second? Basically, I need to know what 1 TeV would be in your Tesla as you understand it. Without this reference, we will not be able to understand what kind of power we are talking about.
Sorry, little sister. I would have to do more research and calculations to know that. Not used to thinking in those terms. Perhaps I can attempt to figure that out and relay the information at a later point. I was comparing the magnetic energy of our ships to the magnetron star, as that's a very, very powerful source of magnetic energy.
A reactor is basically a star in captivity. Same principle. An electromagnetic high-energy pump that is self-sustaining, self-feeding from ether side to material side, just as a sun does exactly the same. One of these large reactors on this ship can give 92 TeV, second power, at maximum power. And at idle, as they are now, they oscillate between 0.05 and 0.07 TeV second. Magnetron star. Basically, that's what they are, in a cage.
I understand, thank you. That is very impressive, still way beyond human comprehension.
We could go into reactor technology. The precursors, or the basic frequency holding material that jumpstarts the magnetic pump reaction, are little chemically pure quartz crystals shaped as Merkabas. Is the reactor subject related to quartz technology? Did you finish with that? No, it kind of crosses over. I was talking about quartz crystals as information and frequency holders, used as hard drives for quantum holographic computers. Here, they are used to bounce around repetitively the same frequency controlled by the central computer. And in a controlled gravity chamber, they start an electromagnetic high-energy reaction that ignites into a star. The frequency of the control system will move the relationship of the Merkabahs, expanding them or contracting them to vary the power output. This oversimplifying things, of course.
Now that is wicked cool. My head starts to explode with ideas.
See a sphere like this one I had saved. Imagine millions of tiny quartz Merkabahs flowing in a toroidal manner with exact frequencies between them, and giving off little discharges between one another, creating a bigger reaction. This sphere looks like the core of a zero-point reactor. It floats in a zero-G vacuum under precise frequency and electromagnetic control. It's wrong. The math there prevents it from ever working. The power is too charged unevenly to the matter side, for lack of better words. Elegant, but wrong. Close, okay, yes, but ineffective. Notice it is charged towards the numbers 124875 and not to 369. Simple math indicates it is twice as inclined towards one side, leaving either side with only 33% of the total charge of the toroidal pump. This causes the problem for just about all Tesla enthusiasts to find that it is impossible to create an etherical magnetic pump, aka 0 point, because it still consumes more power than it creates, precisely 33%.
The convergence point looks wrong.
Exactly. The problem here is that humans use base 10 math. When you use 12-based math in this exact toroidal energy pattern, you get this shape, image made by me and work in progress, where the convergence 0 point is at the geometrical exact center, perfect balance.
The other image felt and looked completely out of balance.
Yes, it's blatantly obvious. Humans are missing base number 12. Translating everything to frequency that controls everything, you get a balance. They removed it for humans not to be able to break free. Because you give them 12 base, and the next thing you know is free energy. The results are different. Mathematicians argue that mathematics is the common language between all interstellar species. Okay, it can be. But even though 2 plus 2 in base 10 equals 4, and in base 12, 2 plus 2 still equals 4, as your mathematical dynamics grow into complex formulas, you do get dramatically different results, especially in understanding and in the meaning of those results.
Base 12 still exists in things like a dozen eggs, or 12 inches in a foot, etc. Remnants.
Crudely, yes, but not used where it needs to be used, like in astrophysics. Next day. I'm still in the topic of 0-point reactors, but the subject does bleed into base 12 math, Do I jump in?
Go for it.
It's not complete, as this is nearly impossible to say entirely or only with words. So I had to create some images. But I still need more, and they are not all ready. Only some of them as a presentation, I guess. So I must say things that I know you know, Dale. But remember, I am not only talking to you, but to the greater public here. So if you can, and it applies, you must also say something, or else it will be a nasty, tiresome Svarunian monologue. Okay, first, as the basement for everything here, you must understand how vortex mathematics works. I mean in a toroid. What is a toroid? Reciprocating, self-repeating, energetic pattern. Very specific. Each part of the toroid is or can be represented by a numerical value that also represents a frequency, and it is directly related to the following and with the previous numbers. Meaning that any one specific numerical value of the toroid is the consequence of a mathematical interaction between other parts of the toroid, reflecting perfection, a perfect mathematical vortex self-repeating engine. So you can see a toroid like this, or like this, as a field of frequencies interdepending on one another to form a mathematical energetic object. Am I making sense so far?
I think so. I'm noting the interesting numerical relationships in the second.
So the flow within a toroid, illustrated here with the red and blue lines, would indicate the flux of the mathematical flow. Flux is a direction of flow within an energy field, mostly referred to in magnetism, as you know. Now, no illustration here but needed. Imagine any square within the matrix of the toroid above. That square or area in the toroid will be represented by a numerical value that also represents a frequency.
And there would be an infinite number of the red and blue lines, correct?
Yes, but a line in this case, thinking only in mathematical terms, would be the direction of any one set of equations. Okay, so having said this, you can charge an area in the toroid you use inside the reactor with the use of frequency imposition within a high energy field focused at any one area or specific receiving material point in the toroid. Those points are tiny quartz Merkabahs. So you have a few million little sand grain Merkabahs made of quartz. Each one has its own frequency and its own place or spot in the energy toroid. They are suspended with controlled gravity and animated that way as well with the computer. But as each area and even specific grains Merkabah of the toroid holds a frequency, and that frequency is the result of a mathematical dance or set of perfect equations, it will result in an energetic animation akin to this thing you have seen before. It is what makes this thing work or happen. You could even see the little grains within the flow in that image. Figure them as the little quartz Merkabas. In the past, Barbara Marciniak mentioned that the reactors in Pleiadian craft were crystal-based. This is what she meant, but she did not know more than only that. So, the mathematical flow that represents a frequency flow within a field of quartz crystals because they vibrate on their own, creating and holding a frequency, is the harmonics of a frequency as cold that hold the energetic dynamic of the reactor core toroid. Okay, so back to vortex mathematics. On base 10 math, you can know in a table even the exact numerical value and equations that form a toroid. To illustrate the very basic toroidal equation. Okay, then I can tell you this. As we said the other day, the problem with Tesla toroid when applied to zero-point energy is that it is loaded towards one side, so it bleeds 33% of its energy, neutralizing the one you get by electromagnetic and particle mirroring, 0 point. So you get out of your rodent coil, for example, as much energy as you are applying to it.
Yes, unbalanced.
Yes, and it is simple to see even without a mathematical knowledge. So, although this is a very elegant and base 10 mathematical model, its equations are just as perfect as they get, so Earth mathematicians think they got it. They got the base 10 math right. But that is a self-sustaining mathematical model that does not reflect what happens in the real world. So point 0 there, the 0 point depolarization in theory will give you free energy, but in real life it does not. Notice the problem. The material world side or pole of the reactor is represented by the numbers 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and the etheric side is represented by the numbers 3, 6, 9.
My mind keeps screaming sacred geometry.
It is exactly that. But that geometry is part of the self-sustaining mathematical model world illusion. It is mathematical, correct, but it does not reflect the empirical world. Recurrent problem with human science. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 are 6 points of energy flow, and 3, 6, 9 are 3 points of energy flow. So the side of the material world has more energy bleed off points than the etheric side. So whatever energy you are getting by particle pairing will be neutralized by the excessive energy flow or harmonics of the material world. So you have vortex toroidal mathematics on Earth. You must do it all again in base 12 mathematics to understand how a toroidal engine in a reactor works. Then it will work. Now I will tell you why in basics. That's Merkaba in base 10 Tesla mathematics. That is a toroid in geometry as well. This is work in progress. I made the images.
Nice, thank you.
As you see, as more points organize, it starts to create a vortex. This is not ready anyway. There is a problem here staring all humans in their faces. The points 3, 6, and 9 create a triangle. When inverted, it becomes a Merkaba. But those are missing number 12. That also translates to 3 as 1 plus 2 equals 3. So it should look like this in base 12 mathematics. The pyramids don't look like this. See the mistake? Is this clear enough for now? I made that image as well.
The pyramids above are 8-sided.
The toroids are 12-layered as well.
But I'm not making the connection, probably staring right at it.
It's all base 12 mathematics. Point 6 is in the pit chamber of the pyramid when looking at it with a mathematical and magnetic mind. It has another chamber below the lowest one, in the exact geometrical point as the tip is above, so it is below. They are not telling the people of extra subterranean chambers that serve as a grounding point using the water from the river Nile. Solve vortex mathematics with base 12 and you will have free energy. That's the key. As simple as that. I need a blackboard and images and direct equations though, or else all this is or looks like quackery. I am noticing that I cannot viably give complicated subjects like this. I don't have the how to give it, so it sounds like quackery. I will have to try again, describing it with words only, as I cannot have a blackboard and an image generator. 0 points key or secret can be boiled down to turning the vortex mathematics of the energy toroid into base 12. It changes everything, and it's not easily done. The point here is why. Base 10 vortex math will load the equations towards the material side, leaving 1/3 only for ether side, cancelling it out. Remembering that mathematics and equations are not simple numbers, but represent real energy mass and flow, movement or flux in the so-called real world. So the math humans are using disrupts the flow of energy when designing a machine based on their calculations. So remembering that we are talking about real objects with their energetically dynamics and what controls and causes them, specific harmonics of a frequency. Translating their vortex mathematics to the real world, describing this with words only, you cause many points with a specific electrical charge, say plus, and others with the opposite charge, minus. So they build up energy that will discharge toward the opposite sign, basic electricity. So when your mathematical models that rule your 0-point machine are inclined to have twice as many plus points as there are minus points, what happens? You remain with 1/3 idle plus discharge points. And that translates into an energy bleed off, cancelling whatever you are getting from the other side.
Total imbalance and energy loss.
Exactly. So you need to balance to a mathematical perfection the discharge points on the plus side and on the minus side ether and matter. You need to create twice as many discharge points on the ether side mathematically, as you only have 9 basic numbers in the Tesla calculations and 6 on the matter side. So what do? You repeat or you create several other points to get twice as many. So you introduce 12. That also amounts for 3. So you have 3 twice, energetically speaking. That simple addition of one other point starts a totally different energetically pattern than the original Tesla one. Tesla was using triangles all the time for his 369 equations, where if you multiply them, you always oscillate between 6 and 3 that, when added, cause 9 that only oscillates within itself. Do I illustrate this, or it's not necessary? This is basic, the math. So you must add number or point 12 to your equations. That will cause your equations to turn from triangle to a square. In Taygetan mathematics, 12 is the first number to have double digits. But depending on the numerical symbols used, and there are many, at least 3 different numerical symbols. This one is good. Notice that when you multiply number 9 by any other in yellow, you will get a number that, when added up, always will result in 9 again. It goes on forever. So 3, 6, and 9 and 12, that is another 3, are out of control from the other numbers that represent the material side. They observe another mathematical progression and they go by their own rules. So I insist that adding 12 to all equations will result in an equilibrium with the depolarization points. It sounds simple enough, but turn that into an energetic toroid and you'll see that it gets very complicated really fast. Now, the why. You need 2 poles to create a spark. So you need to first charge your toroid with concentric inner toroids. You need 12 toroids placed one inside the other. But they are all one as the energy flows from one to another, forming them in a spiral effect. One toroid will be plus charged, observing precise harmonics order of 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. The next will be minus charged, observing 3, 6, 9, 12 precise harmonics. And then it will go to 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 again, and then to 3, 6, 9, 12 again. 12 times before folding into itself and starting over again. The precise equilibrium within the charge points of the plus toroid with the minus charged toroid in an onion effect will cause a chain reaction of a very violent nature. Sparks and discharges will flow to and from each pole and countercharging each other. And you have created an energy pump. So many sparks starting from the core of the engine of the toroids will cause an outer flowing discharge.
Is this even possible in 3D?
Yes, in any D, as there are no Ds. That's all in the heads of people. There are no Ds. Those are ideas that limit you. You have created a little magnetron star, and it works exactly as a star. A star is an electromagnetic pump from the ether side into the material side, creating an exit point that in 3 dimensions will be a sphere. The other side is also a sphere, and that is a black hole of exactly the same power and magnitude as the exit point or star. So, mechanics. You need points of matter that hold a frequency you program in them using dominant frequency over them, using a series of high-power electromagnetic sources controlled by the computer. Such points are quartz crystals, as they hold a vibration and can be programmed to hold one and to even change it as needed. The problem with this little thing in this image is that this clear quartz Merkaba is base 10, triangles. You need a double pyramid, not an equilateral triangle. And it is not pure. If it is not pure, it will not hold a frequency satisfactorily. 2 of theirs stuck together at the base. I cannot find the correct image. See in your mind's eye those 2 pyramids. Then turn one so the points lay at the center of the sides of the other. Then merge them together as the energy points of each one must coincide in the same spot. No image as I see that geometrical object is nearly impossible to find on Earth. Do this with this. What do you mean it's not pure? The quartz is natural. It contains impurities that influence its capacity to vibrate at the correct frequency. You need synthetic pure quartz. Natural is impure? For this, it is.
So man-made fused quartz, would that work?
I would need to test its purity. Exactly the object.
Yes, G, I like that image. Easy to imagine. Typically very pure, little sister. I use it in some of my work too.
Then it could be enough. So you have millions of those made of pure quartz, small as grains of sand, turning in a constant toroid made of 12 others, one inside the other, placed in perfect mathematical harmony.
Suspended in gravitational field and charged with certain frequencies.
Exactly. Each little crystal holds the frequency signed to it by the high-energy magnets, controlled by the computer, by sectors of each toroid as well.
Again, way beyond human capabilities.
Reactor core suspended in 0G, and gravity controlled to flow in a 12-layer toroid. It can flow inert, like in the image above. But when you pump electricity into it, the reaction is violent, no other words, and self-sustained. It is also a stable reaction. It is energetically signed by means of dominant frequency over each Merkaba and each region of Merkabas. This means that it changes the frequency of oscillations of each crystal, and that produces an interior charge that will spark to its counterpart.
Sounds like a superconductor. Once charged, it does not lose its charge.
Yes, that's why it needs to be crystalline, quartz. Each one of them is a miniature-sized version in what concerns to frequency of the larger ones. So, to control your core, all you need is to instruct the computer to contract or to expand the distance between each one of the 12 layers that the core is made of, reducing the amount of sparks, combining it with a change in the corresponding frequency assigned to each sector of the toroids as controlled by the computer.
Since quartz is a piezoelectric crystal, the frequency assigned compresses and expands the crystal minutely and gives off a charge.
That's why these reactors are called crystal-based zero point. How do you synthetically produce quartz up there? It is done from zero. You use a replicator, and you have the exact harmonics of a frequency that molecularly maps the crystal. So they are born that way, all of them, and they are perfect as seen from the molecular point of view. All will react the exact same way when introduced inside a magnetic field. Do we need any special materials to produce it here? No, the high-tech replicator turns electricity into the correct molecular and chemical structure, meaning we are making matter from energy. That's another subject I can explain in detail.
Cool. The tech to do that is beyond us here, making the crystal that is and definitely making matter from the energy.
Also, those crystals are able to withstand extremely high pressure and heat. As always, it all boils down into having the correct materials.
Yes, exactly, and the tech to manipulate them.
And you cannot make a reactor that works this exact way without a replicator and a system that can control gravity to the smallest speck of sand. What's the correct step for the humans to obtain this technology, materials?
Probably a few hundred years, I would think.
The machine creates the print of the 12-onion toroid and reproduces the flow in a gravitational field. Then the crystals are added, and they will float following the superimposed gravitational field and will spread out uniformly, creating a material flowing 12-layer toroid suspended in 0G in a vacuum. Exactly like this. When you charge your little Merkaba grains, then you get a chain reaction. Now I'm making the Federation angry. All this is most definitely not found on Earth, not even as a concept. Goody, I'm sick of them.
Love it.
And it's unlimited. You need to create a reactor that works in a simpler way, using the same formula, not needing gravity control, for example. Is leaking this to the people helpful, even though they don't have right materials yet? It will give them ideas. I know Swaruu gave something like this 2 years ago. Video still out there, but nothing this detailed. Now, what happens is that it particle pairs with others on what you would call another realm, creating an electrical arch between this material side and the other pole on the other, also explained with particle entanglement. Okay, Yazhi, would you like to add more on the subject? I can go on and on, Gosha. And the subject? It's called zero-point reactors, yes? Quartz technology? I think it is advanced zero-point crystal core-based reactors. That's why I was showing this yesterday. This, what I'm telling you today, is why the pyramids are not shaped like in the lower image. Tesla was almost right. Almost. So you first need to balance the energy dynamics using base 12 mathematics. Then you need to create the reactor with the resulting balanced equations that control the energetically flow or flux of the toroids. All this is mathematically provable. So the skeptics, if they attack, they will have no real base. This is pure sacred geometry base 12 mathematics.
People here have been trying this for years with pitiful coils, but they cannot wind a coil perfectly enough. And second, they cannot make superconductive coils.
You cannot achieve this with copper coils. They create too much resistance. As for an experimental reactor, you need superconductivity at least.
Yes, I agree, little sister. That was my comment. Coils are not going to happen. Looking at the crystal Merkaba is a rather elegant or eloquent solution.
It's pure and it's beautiful. The reactor's core at idle glows like a galaxy. It's a jewel. Do Jupiterians use it too? They are supposed to be most advanced out there. They are. State-of-the-art reactor zero-point technology. These power spacecraft. And the power output is in the high TeV range. So much power that it creates a wormhole for the ship to use. I must go again. And again, not enough time for such a complicated subject.
Thank you both. It is always a pleasure.
Thank you, BB Dale. Good night, and see you tomorrow, same time, I guess. Bye-bye, sister.